How's it going, everyone? Back with another video where we're playing kind of a brew. We are playing some Abzan, what I call Cauldron Blade. I'm basing it off of a list that I saw in the 50 dumps that was kind of like a black-green Cauldron Grist list by Xerk. The foundation of this list has Agatha Soul's Cauldron and Grist the Hunger Tide. And for those who don't know the interaction, Agatha's Soul Cauldron gives all of your creatures that have a +1/+1 counter on it, all the abilities that are exiled by the Cauldron. So what happens is when you exile a Grist, and you have a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, it gains these loyalty abilities, and it has the ability to be able to +1 and make a bunch of 1/1. So I took this idea and then just basically just added the Stoneforge Mystic Shell just because I haven't played Stoneblade in a while and I wanted to kind of see how it felt. Um, so based on the list that 5 would I pretty much removed the green studs in this package and then just added Stoneforge Mystics. And then from there I also added like Continue Priest for like creativity and then Kadaki for all the Mox Opal decks. So it's interesting. Deck was pretty cool and fun to play. I played it off stream, so I'm just doing another recap video. So we'll see how it goes and we'll go from there. So round one, we're on the play. Standard's pretty solid. We have Saga, all our colors, Bowmasters. We're only really missing a Cauldron, which the Rumble helps us find. So against what appears to be Boros energy with the Arid Mesa, Turn 1 Guided Souls, we just get the Shadowy Backstreet because we already have the we have a Turn backstreet just because we have the green source in hand. But kind of reflecting back on it, maybe I should have gotten like the Triome that way because I can cast this Rumble and then cast a play Saga as our second land drop. So this is where we found Cauldron off of the Rumble, and this is where it gets kind of awkward because if we mill any of our equipment, it's kind of weird. But especially if we mill a Cauldron and we want to like tutor up with a Stoneforge Mystic that we can potentially cast later. But overall, this is where we can hope to get these two cards in the graveyard. We have the Bowmasters with the Orc Army. So this is our opponent's kind of going off. They Galvanic discards my Eldrazi spawn, which is interesting, but I'll take that because that means there's just one less removal spell to fight through. Maybe they just wanted to get in the early beats and get a 3/4. But this is where I just play a Grist, kind of bait them to attack this down potentially. But even then, like this is just 3 powers. They can have attack with both, but they end up just static imprisoning my insect and then just attacking with everything. So then this is where hopefully we can draw a 4th land. We can go Bowmasters plus Cauldron, and then be able to start making a bunch of insect tokens, but we didn't draw that. So this is where I'm just holding up Push plus Bowmasters. They sacrifice a prison, and then they cast a Splinter Twin on the Sky to Souls, which is a cool way to get a bunch of energy. Luckily, I drew the push last turn, so we take the 3, cast the Bowmasters, and now where we can kind of start going off with the Soul Cauldron. Drew another push, which is pretty clutch. Get the Drungas, we're kind of tight on mana. So this is where, like I mentioned, I exile the Grist, put the counter on the Orcish Bowmasters, and now both the Bowmasters and the Orc Army, since they both have +1/+1 counters, they have the ability to just add a loyalty. So that's what this loyalty counters are, the bottom, and then we start making insects here. And again, we still get to hold up Fatal Push. This is Village Bellringer. So this is where it's interesting. Like if they end up drawing another Splinter Twin, it gets kind of awkward. But we just kind of start swarming the board. And then I draw a Fulminator Mage, and so my plan to combat them being able to combo off here is I just Stone Rain both these lands. So I will blow up this land, activate Agatha Soul Cauldron, exile Former Mage, put it on this insect token, and then I can just sack this insect token to just blow up their other land. So they're stuck on essentially 2 mana until they draw, more basics. So that's game 1. Game 2, we're on the draw. So this is how we sideboard. I bought the one Former Mage and a halfling. Can kind of see where the ins and outs are from there. They have a turn 1 Oslo Pride, which is kind of walking around the draw because this Bowmasters does answer it, but it might be a little slow. So I play the Catacombs just to get a Scry land, just to try to dig for removal, say like a Toxic Deluge, for example. But a Johnny is kind of a good answer to that because now the Johnny can flip, and they get a bunch of cats. So their board state on turn 2 is pretty big. Luckily, drew the push, so we keep that on top. So I'll kind of go into plan. Drew the Johnny, push the Johnny, and then just play a land. We take 4. And this is where hopefully Bowmasters can kind of take over the game, hopefully. We just play a tap land because we're just going to be Bowmastering here. They're going to Elegant Parlor and put a Galvanic Discharge into the graveyard, which is pretty big for us. They're Splinter Twinning, targeting the Ocelot Pride, which is perfect because that means we just 2-for-1 them here. I think that was a pretty greedy play by them. Maybe they're banking on us not having another push. But here, we can just play Stoneforge Mystic. We'll probably Rumble first. This is where I think I misplayed here. I took the land, but I probably should have just grabbed the Sword of Fire and Ice. Just that way it just turns all of our other threats online, and this Kaldra is a big deal. So this is where they end up Thraven Charming my Stoneforge Mystic. So they'll probably have the read that we have the Kaldra in hand. They probably don't have a way to deal with the Kaldra. Luckily, we top deck the Agatha's Soul Cauldron, exile Stoneforge Mystic, put it on the spawn token, activate the spawn token, put Kaldra into play. And this is this is what I envisioned when I kind of thought to add the Stoneforge Mystic package is, Stoneforge Mystic often dies and the Kaldra gets stuck in our hand. This is a situation where like it fights through that, and this Kaldra was not stuck in our hand. This is where I think I got a little greedy, like knowing that they're on Splinter Twin plus the Village Bellringer from game 1. I probably should have just held up this Force of Vigor, which I do this turn. We're getting this is where it's I don't know what answers they have potentially. But then they exile my graveyard with Thraven's Charm, so I just exile their Johnny and put it on my Germ token. So I cast a Rumble, cast a Grist, and this is where I think I should have just held up Force of Vigor. Like, they need to answer this Kaldra. And again, the only way I lose is like Village Bellringer plus Splinter Twin. So I get an attack and I kind of tap out essentially. Again, they have the Bellringer here. Energy, get a life. But luckily, they did not top deck Splinter Twin. So I got pretty lucky here because I didn't need to have this Grist plus Insect and token in play. Like, this Germ is already enough pressure because next turn it just forces them to essentially at least double block with the cat plus something else, or like the Bellringer, and that they lose their combo target. So they'll probably, chump block all these 3 guys on the Germ token, but not lucky. But this is where I talk about where like exile Stoneforge Mystic with Soul Cauldron and then get the Cauldron into play. It's kind of exactly what I envisioned with this deck, which is kind of cool to see right off the bat in the league. Match 2, game 1. Looks like we're on the draw here. We have turn 1 Halfling, which is pretty cool, and a bunch of interaction with Fatal Pushes, and a Rumble to try to find a Soul Conjured. So it's kind of not much of a better hand other than just literally having Soul Cauldron itself. But starting off with turn 1 Halfling is nice. Because that way next turn we can go like Rumble into hold up Bowmasters, for example. But they have the heat and they cast a preordain, which is unfortunate. Um, this is where I can either hold up Bowmasters or play the white, and I'd rather just play the Bowmasters here. Just to try to get them to play around the pre the if they cast another preordain, for example. But here they cast a Haywire Might, which we get pretty lucky. Essentially, we just kind of get a free removal out of those Bowmasters and kill the Haywire Might. They gave the 2 life, but here we have this Fatal Push, which is pretty clutch here. Taking down the Tamio, which is a kind of a problem. And then we rumble here, but I probably should have just played the white and put more pressure on the board. And then I also just like took the land when maybe I should have just taken the Stoneforge Mystic, especially with the Saga in play. So it was like kind of a lot that could have happened that turn. But here I just get my basics, play Grist, hold up Fatal Push. But here I opt to sacrifice a creature. They heat my Grist. I'll still sack my Eldrazi spawn token, take out the Tamio, but they make a construct first. And then I kind of opt to hold up Fatal Push here. Just to be able to like interact with their board. They end up getting a Soulguide Lantern and exile Cauldron, which is funny. Maybe they think there's a way for me to like bring it back, and then just it's a sign that like maybe they just don't have a clean answer to the Stoneforge Mystic. I also think that them not having Shadow Spear is kind of a big deal here. So here I attack with the Orc Army. What I can do is I can shoot the Construct down and grow my Orc Army. They end up just like exiling my graveyard with the Lantern, which is kind of huge. But their constructs will be kind of big here. We end up just trying to scry, put the land in the graveyard, which is great for us. Drew Stoneforge Mystic. Get Sword of Fire and Ice, and that's where this will turn all of our creatures into pretty big threats, which is awesome. They make another construct, so it's just kind of like a standstill between me and my opponent. They are getting a Thundering Falls, just middle it, Mox Amber, make a construct. So their board is getting pretty big here. Get a Mishra's Bauble. So again, I think this is a sign that they don't have Shadow Spear in the main, because I think Shadow Spear would have been pretty hard to beat from our perspective. So we just block with the Orc Army and sack with the white to get an Urza Saga. And then now this is where white of the Reliquary kind of takes over the game. We can just like block again. Like this is where Shadow Spear, or the lack of Shadow Spear, is really awkward. So we just wrap up the sword onto the white to really protect from top deck Unholy Heat. This is a grinding station from there. So this is where we know they are specifically on Temur Breach. So make a construct. So then we make another construct when we untap. And then we get a Haywire Might. So that way we can exile this grinding station if they ever top deck breach. Equip the construct, attack. They just double blocks. We're just basically trading constructs here, which I think benefits us because their constructs are way bigger than ours. So I think this is where it's pretty clutch to do so. Them activating Mishra's Bauble is an interesting line because we just get an Orc Army and we can just sack it to get more sagas. So Bowmasters is kind of pulling a lot of weight here. So they're kind of top decking mana. So I'll do that said line. I'll probably should have sacked the Orc Army first. So this is where I missequenced here. Just first time kind of playing with these cards. I should have sacrificed first, then activated and then to tutor for the Surveil land. Same thing as last turn. I'll equip, but this is where they have the Unholy Heat. They actually see, this is where I actually messed up. I thought they were unholy heating my construct, but then they unholy heated my Haywire Might. And I should have exiled the grinding station, and I just totally I just thought that they were targeting my construct, just in response to in response to the activation of the equip. So that's where I made a pretty huge blunder, because now they keep this grinding station in play. So that means that like they can just top deck a breach and they just like essentially win. Here we just top decks, we just keep getting sagas, and now essentially like we get to a point in the game where like I feel like my constructs and my sagas are better than theirs, just because we've been able to tutor them up. So like our artifacts are bigger than theirs, or we have more artifacts than our opponent. So they drew the auto aura, which is awkward. So I think this is where I pretty much make I am pretty head on board. Shock them, draw Fatal Push. And then they draw Preordain. Rumble. And then find the breach. And that's where I think the misplay of me not sacrificing Harriman and not paying attention to what they're targeting cost me this game, because I should have won this game. Because we could have exiled this organization and they would have no way to really combo off here, and we were like so ahead on board. So match 2, game 2, since we punted that game 1, we're on the draw. Sorry, on the play this game. Our opponent bowls a 5, maybe bowl a 6. I'm not going to play his Haywire Might into play. Like, I kind of want to save it for, you know, a saga or a combo piece. So I'm kind of just leaving this Haywire Might in hand, kind of sandbagging it. Here I push the Tameo, play, and I opt to just play the Gauntlet Shrine, because my thought process was I was going to play Grist and then play Saga, which is what happens. I end up not doing anything on turn 2, at least not committing anything to the board, really. Because if I wanted to play Grist on turn 3, then I miss out on a Saga activation. They play Grinding Station here, and this is where again I can play the Haywire Might, and I'll try to activate it this time. So attack with the Insect token, +1 with Grist, middle of Soul Cauldron, which kind of sucks because I really wanted that. So they pray down here. They have their Saga of their own, which is annoying. We start a Saga, and again, we don't. The moral of this, or the summary of this game, of this match, is we don't get to activate our Haywire Might ever, apparently. Force of Vigor is a pretty big draw there, though. We just activate Construct, get a Spell Bomb, so now we're pretty insulated against the combo in the future. Plus here, and now this backup Grist in our hand is essentially just force fodder, and we force the Saga plus Grinding Station, so that way they really have much going on during their upkeep. So match 2, game 3, we're on the draw now. Well, 6, we have Halfling Bowmaster's Soul Cauldron, which is a pretty decent hand. They top 2 with Preordain, which is scary. But we're going to get Delighted Halfling, so that way we can go Bowmasters or Fatal Push. Using the fetch is awkward now, because now we can't push the Emery, and that's kind of huge, I think. Here I end up just playing the Soul Cauldron just in case they like find a way to like mill themselves, but then they have the Nature's Claim for the Soul Cauldron, and I think that's where we kind of like lose grasp of the game, especially because we didn't draw an untapped land here, so we can't activate Saga either. I end up keeping the push on top just so I can have more removal. Like, they only have 1 card in hand, so if we can like answer this Emery, and if they have like a Tameo or something, but they end up finding the Haywire Might, and then they kind of just go off here, because now they just bring the Haywire Might back, and then we exile our Saga, and we Bowmasters, which isn't that bad of a turn, but like this is where we really needed a Fatal Push for this Emery, or sorry, a fetch land or a Mishra's Bubble to turn on our Fatal Push. But now they just bring Haywire Might back, and then they just really just draw the second Saga, and that's just the nail in the coffin for us. Like, we don't draw a third land, so I just scoop it up. But it's just gonna end up being kind of awkward. Like, we had the set removal in hand, but we had to use the fetch land to play Delighted Halfling, which sucks. We just couldn't find another way to trigger a Revolt there. Match 3, game 1. This hand's kind of awkward. Like, we have Stoneblade plus Rumble in the Saga, but like, it's like kind of like a medium minus hand, I would say. Like, it's really contingent on Stoneforge Mystic, which is kind of awkward. So it looks like this is like a hollow one deck with Faithless Looting. This is a deck that was pretty popular before the looting ban. We end up just getting a Surveil land and just put a Fatal Push in the yard. Here I cast Stoneforge Mystic. Essentially, my game plan is like, hopefully they don't have removal, and hopefully this Cauldron is enough. Because, you know, we can put Cauldron play next turn, and then Shadow Spear, true up Shadow Spear with Saga, and then strap it on the Cauldron. But this is where, like, they just have a crazy turn where they attack for 8. So we go to 11, and then we can potentially put the Cauldron in play. So we can block 1, but then we're taking 10. So this is where I just scoop it up. They found a Vengevine, which is pretty good. So game 2 of the third match, we have Bowmaster's Grist white. So we are missing the green source for the white, so hopefully we can draw into it. They double Street Wraith, play Mountain, Burning Inquiry, and then do not find a hollow one, which we got pretty lucky. We find the green source thanks to the Burning Inquiry. And I'll just Soul Cauldron and then exile the Detective Phoenix here. They loot again. Mill of Vengevine. And then that's where their Root Walla gains haste. Now the Soul Cauldron should potentially take over the game just because it's really good at exiling their own Vengevines. You end up finding a land with the Rumble. And I can just hold up Bowmasters as well, which is what I do. So I ping the Root Walla, and then they just concede to the draw too, and I can just kill the Root Walla here. And then we have Soul Cauldron to exile Vengevine. If they don't exile Vengevine, we can just target a Grist, and then now all of our creatures get the Grist ability. So game 3. So we kind of mulligan to a pretty bad hand now. I don't think we can mulligan too deep against a Burning Inquiry deck. We talked about the Thoughtseize, and then this is where they have double Burning Inquiry in their hand. I end up taking one of them just in case they like keep the other one, and like our hand gets really awkward. We drew into the Bowmasters. I end up trying to hold up Bowmasters in case they draw another Burning Inquiry, but they are eluding. So those are we can. I probably should have cast this first, but then they had the Unholy Heat, so it was kind of awkward. I wanted to save the Unholy Heat for, save the Bowmasters to destroy this. So that's where I prioritize that because they had the Heat, but that's where they end up getting a Vengevine into play. So then this is where I play Saga, and I just try to stabilize. Oh, and then I just didn't plus. I just misclicked there, and I just end up just like, you know, they also have like another removal spell in hand, and we can just take the Grist down anyway. So kind of awkward, and I think that was kind of the game right there. So after starting off the league hot, we'll 1-0, we go 1-2. So this is match 4. We're on the play, and we end up mulling to 5, which is very unfortunate. We have Halfling plus Soul Cauldron and a Grist, so hopefully we can kind of like string another land and kind of go from there. And then pushing our halfling, which is really unfortunate. We get Saga, which is kind of lucky, I guess. So I'll play the Soul Cauldron. They play Tamio. This is where I ended up. I probably should have exiled something in case they're on like the Oculus build. We have Bowmasters, so we can kind of like string together something where we can exile our own divided halfling, and then all our creatures with +1/+1 encounters are able to make mana. Assuming this Bowmasters resolves and lives, of course. So Bowmasters there. Exile my halfling. They Bowmasters, unfortunately. So luckily, like our orc army still can make mana thanks to the Soul Cauldron, so this isn't like all for naught. We tutor up Springleaf Drum, tap the Saga for mana, cast a Grist, plus Grist, and then cast a Hero Mine. So like we have one land, but we mill a Fulminator Mage, so like this is where we can potentially start stone raining our opponent's lands, but we are kind of low in resources as well. So I guess like they saw me exile this Fulminator Mage and then target my insect token, and then potentially just like stone rain them out of the game. So they just conceded to that, which is kind of crazy. Game 2. We have like a pretty medium hand. We have Rumble plus Soul Cauldron, so like we're hoping this Rumble can fuel this Soul Cauldron, but they have the Leyline of the Void, which is unfortunate. They boarded and dressed down, which is pretty huge, and they surveil it to the graveyard, which is crazy. They play a turn 2 Psychic Frog. We Rumble. Don't really find anything. I was trying to like hit a Saga maybe, but we just can't really deal with the Psychic Frogs. I ended up just conceding. Game 3 of match 4. This is a pretty decent hand. We have Grist plus Soul Cauldron. Play a Triome. And let me double check something here. Just kind of showing off how I sideboarded. Drew a halfling a little late, but we Rumble. Find a Fulminator Mage, because next I can just start stone raining them here. Psychic Frog means we have Fatal Push. So we drew the Black Source, which is perfect because we can push plus play Fulminator potentially, but we end up just Gristing. They Thoughtseize, take my Fulminator Mage, which is definitely a mistake, but they have the Leyline of the Void. So we're just trying to outgrind with Grist here, because essentially the Soul Cauldron's potentially dead, but we can still exile their Psychic Frog and then grow our insects, which is what I do here. Like a 2/2 isn't nothing, and then we just still keep Fatal Push, and then they just concede the game here because they can't beat a Grist. So this is the last match of the league, and this match is pretty crazy. We have a push or Bowmasters and a Fulminator Mage. We just need a Soul Cauldron, the Inquisition, take Bowmasters. So I'm presuming that this is maybe mono black Necro. We see a white, so we keep it on top. Cast on our turn 2, so we can kind of get a 2-mana 3/3. They Thoughtseize. Take the Fulminator, which is interesting. We attack for 4. So this white ends up being a pretty decent beater, until they, exile their graveyard here with the Bogart Trawler. I kind of wanted to keep this Fatal Push in hand, just to like answer his Shielder. I don't want to like attack this Trawler and attack for 2. It just seems like a waste of a removal spell. Like, this Trawler is not really doing anything. So here I just make a construct. They fell the Profane my white, and then I backstreet my top card in my deck, which is Halfling to the graveyard. Ended up getting a Haormite to play around Necro. So now it's just a race. They have a 3-power creature. We have 2 3-power creatures and a Haormite. They cast Shield Red here, so I'm glad I kept my Grist. Or sorry, my Fatal Push. So, but unfortunately we don't have a I think my replay broke. This is the downside about Moto. I'm pretty sure what I did was I cast a Grist, sacrificed a token, destroyed Shieldred. Oh, there we go. Good old Moto. Actually plus, which is interesting. I guess the line was I wanted to block the Shieldred with Insect, and I can just push it. So they gain Precious Life back, which is crazy. Treacherous Blessings. They draw 3 cards, gain 6 life. So they march my Grist on my upkeep, so I can push the Shieldred and not lose life. Draw the Rumble. Bowmaster's Trawler. So this was like an insane turn. We got the Bowmaster's Trawler, push this Shieldred. We lost our Grist, but it's okay. I think it's worth it. Crazy play here. They Agadeems, whatever the Modal Dual Face card is. And bring Shieldred back. And a Trawler. So exile our graveyard, which is kind of crazy. Luckily we have a backup Grist and quite a few sack fodder here. We lose 2. Attack. They go to 9. Play Necro. But before they go to their end step, we sacrifice Haormite, destroy Necro Dominance, and then Game 2 of the last match of the league. Essentially pretty solid. Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, Orgos Bowmaster's Grist. We brought out the Halflings and the kept it 1 Fulminator actually. Thoughtseize are Thoughtseize. I thought they would take our Grist just because it's such a hard card to deal with from their perspective, which I guess worked out because we just drew a backup Grist. Just get a trend to turn all our mana. Get a Saga into play. They're just playing Drago, which works in our favor, in my opinion. I end up not Bowmastering there because I don't want to Bowmasters and then they Bowmasters my Bowmasters. So I think this is where Moto's getting a little laggy. I opt to just play a Grist. We have 3, so if they want to spend resources on destroying the insect token, i.e. with their Bowmasters, I think this is a better exchange than me casting a Bowmasters and then their Bowmasters answers my Bowmasters. So, and even then, like, this Bowmasters doesn't properly just answer my Grist, like, it only goes down to 2 loyalty. They beseech, sack the Orc army, get a Necro. And then I think they drew 3 cards. Yeah, they drew 3 cards here. So I'll float a mana, get a Haormite, Bowmasters that are Bowmasters, make a 1/1, play Shadow Spear. And this is where I'll just wait to exile their Necro because they skip their draw step. So wait until their main phase to exile their Haormite. They drew Knight of Soul Betrayal. All creatures get -1/-1, which is kind of crazy. That pretty much destroys every one of my creatures except for Stoneforge Mystic. They drew Shieldred, which is annoying, but the flip side is we can plus our 1/1 dies and then we just push. So our line here is just to really Grist Ultimate potentially. They're at 12, which is quite far away, but that was kind of like my line here, especially with multiple Grist. Like what I do is I just keep milling, just keep blessing, try to get to ultimate range, and then try to kill them that way. They end up taking another Grist. because they're like that Knight of Souls Prayer already answers my Bowmasters. They drew 3 again with Necro Dominance and discard a card. We Thoughtseize. Um, and then I end up taking Shieldred here. So they have like Agadeems, Legion's End, Necromentia, which is kind of a weird. I don't know why they. I guess Necromentia answers like Soul Cauldron and stuff. So they fell again. Soul Spike. It's kind of a crazy game, to be honest. Finally draw Stoneforge. Equip Shadow Spirit to a Stoneforge Mystic. So like this is where we can potentially steal the game. But we knew they had the Legion's End, so this is where we can try to draw, or up to 7 lands and then try to Kaldra them. We also have to watch out because of Soul Spike. Like, and just cast multiple Soul Spike and we just lose. They end up just drawing a bunch of cards, and then Shieldred, gains them a bunch of life. So like this game is so swingy, it's kind of crazy. They ended up actually beseeching the Knight of Souls Betrayal away, which is so crazy because that pretty much just turns back on our whole game plan now. And they knew about our Bowmasters. So we like Agatha's Soul Cauldron our Grist, play Bowmasters, and then just make 2 more insect tokens from the Grist ability. And I was scared that maybe they had another Knight of Souls Betrayal, but it looks like they just have the 1 copy. Oh. Luckily we have the Grist here, so then we can like sack an insect and then answer their Shieldred. Because like we have plenty of insect fodder now, because we can play the Grist, exile a creature in a graveyard, and then just make a bunch of +1/+1s on our creatures and attack. So now they try to Agadine here. And then try to turn Shieldred. We'll target it with Aga's Soul Cauldron. And then now we just kind of take over the game with Grist plus... essentially Grist plus Soul Cauldron. Them just sacrificing the Knight of Souls Betrayal, I don't think they realized how impactful that was, because the Knight of Souls Betrayal was really just shutting down our whole deck, and I think that's where they pretty much conceded here. But like now we just like make a bunch of 1/1s. Agatha's Soul Cauldron can I think I held it up one more turn. To exile their shoulders, play on another Agadines, but like we can just like target our white, or even target a Fallen Race, start taking them out, or just anything we really do, we just kind of start taking over the game, especially with this Shadow Spear. I think I end up leaving this Orc army up just to be able to exile my white, sack a insect token, get a Saga, and then essentially just win the game from there. So then I exile my Haywire Mite in my graveyard, like sack my creature, destroy the Haywire Mite. And this is where I just kind of go off here. Like Grist plus Soul Cauldron is just a crazy engine. And that's the game. Like this was such a crazy game where they had like multiple Necro draws. Shieldred, like the Knight of Souls Betrayal, and they like sacked it to the Beseech, was crazy. So we ended up going 3-2. This is a cool deck. I think overall, in summary, like I don't think the Stoneforge Mystic package is worth it, especially the 3rd color splash. I think there's a huge power boost between the Grist and Agatha's Soul Cauldron. I think there's something there. I think that's where Xerk's 5/0 list ends up being pretty good. But overall, I think the White Slash is not worth it, but it's still something cool, something fun to try. So if you like more modern content, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And hope to catch you next time. Take care.